I've got my finger on the trigger, John, and I've got that gun pressed up against the roof of my mouth. Can still taste the metal of that pistol. And in that moment, thank God, I felt a rush come over my body that I'd never felt before. I carefully sit the gun down, and I promised to God and myself that I would extract the lessons that led to that point of putting that gun in my mouth over money, apply those lessons in my life and share them with as many people as I possibly can.
Welcome to another edition of Wealth Eazy Show, where we talk all things wealth, health, and real estate. Today, folks, I got a real special guest for you. My guest today is an entrepreneur, a speaker, and an author. Please welcome to the show, Michael Isom. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Glad to be here, John. Thanks for having me on.
Great. I know we've been trying to connect for a while. We met about 2 years ago in Denver, Colorado at Caleb's mastermind, and you told an incredible story that actually got me emotional. And I think most of the people in the room, I don't think there was a dry eye in the room. Why don't you give us a 2-minute bio about yourself? And then I want to dive right in and talk about that very emotional moment that you had when you were speaking, because it really touched me and left me with something. So let's give our audience a 2-minute bio about yourself, because you've got a very extensive career.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was fun for me to do that in front of my peers and yourself being there, and Trent Fortner, Todd Langford, Kim Butler, of course, Garrett Gunderson was there, and we started in the industry 26 years ago. Garrett and I were original partners together. And so, yeah, I've been in the industry 26 years, married 32 years, and my wife, Wendy, and I have 2 kids that we're super proud of. Our daughter Kennedy's married, and we have 2 grandkids, which is just an incredible part of my life.
You don't look old enough to be a grandfather. You look like you're in your 40s.
Oh, thank you. I think we're the same age. Are you 54, 55?
I'm going to be 55 in May.
Okay, I'll be 55 in August.
Okay.
So yeah, we're the same age, John. Yeah. I think I heard that, and I think I was listening to the podcast with you and Trent Fortner's son.
Oh, Brock, yeah.
Brock. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I've been in the industry all these years, and had my pit experience that you heard me talk about in front of the study group. That was the end of 2007. And I did everything that I could to stay alive in 2008, 2009, and got back into the industry actually the beginning of 2011 with Garrett Gunderson again. And a lot of that was just me restoring my courage and confidence in life in general, and then being able to translate that back into the marketplace once again.
Yeah. So we were at Caleb's mastermind. It was a 2-day mastermind, and you got up to speak. And you said something that I don't think I or anyone else in the room was prepared from you. You mentioned that you've been in the business for 26 years, and I'm in my 27th year. And in the beginning, you had lost $4.8 million of investors' money in a bad investment, something that you couldn't see. And I know this. I've been in the business 27 years, and sometimes investments look so good, and we can do so much due diligence on something, but when fraud is fraud, like they hide it really well. But you had lost family money, investors' money. Walk us through what happened and how that devastating loss actually became your catalyst for your life's mission.
Okay, I'm clearing my throat. Let's go there. Well, you can see here, I have this little dirt bike in my office. And I'm sure I started my presentation out there in Colorado by talking about dirt bikes, because in 7th grade, I started working here in Southern Utah at the local motorcycle shop, making $2.25 an hour, John. I was sweeping floors, washing bikes, emptying trash cans, but it's how I paid for things that I wanted in my life back then, and clothes for school, definitely parts for dirt bikes. Then eventually in high school, dating girls, things of that nature. When I left the motorcycle industry and started college, I responded to an ad to sell cell phones. This was 1993. You can appreciate the big Motorola brick phone.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember
Yeah, well,
those.
that's what I started selling. I thought it'd be a great gig to sell cell phones part-time, go to college. My first 30 days, I made $20,000, which was 10 times what I was making at the motorcycle shop.
Wow.
1993,
That's a
August of
lot.
1993.
That's a lot of money back then.
Yeah. And I met my wife, Wendy. We got married. We had our two kids, Kennedy and Caden. And I'm making this kind of money from 1993 through 1999, and it exposed me to all sorts of things financially. Real estate. I had a 2.5% ownership in a convenience store down in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm only about 2 hours from Vegas. And I'm living the American dream. I'm making money. I'm investing. I have all this stuff going on. And so my desire to learn about money got me into the financial services industry. And that's when I met Ray Les and Garrett Gunderson. We'll talk about Ray and Les possibly because we have the 20-year anniversary in June coming up of them dying in a plane crash out here in Utah. One day, this is like 2004, Les comes to me and he says, "Hey, I've got this investment opportunity with Investor Guy. I think you ought to take a look at it." I trust Les. I do my own due diligence. I meet with Investor Guy. It looks pretty good. So I decide to start with a small shoe and investment of 50 grand, my own cash. And back, 2004, a lot of hard money lending was going on. Real estate was booming, things of that nature. They had these crazy option arm mortgage loans back then here in the United States. And I'm getting paid 5% a month on my cash, hard money lending, 5% a month.
That's crazy.
So that 50 grand had $2,500 a month checks coming into me. Now, Les had something to do with that at the time in the beginning. I don't think there's anything illegal going on in the beginning. Les dies in 2006 in a plane crash. I had invested 50 grand. I decided to put in another 250 grand, and then I give him another 500 grand. So I've got 800 grand making me 5% a month. Talk about passive income coming in. And again, I think everything was legit in the beginning. At least that's my due diligence taught me that it was. And so then I'm like, hey, I bet my client Joe would want to get in on this. And then this client and that client. And the next thing we know, we've got over $10 million with Investor Guy, and the checks are still coming in every month. Until August of 2007, no checks. September, no checks. And I'm starting to freak the fuck out. So I'm trying to get a hold of Investor Guy. He's not taking my calls anymore. I start draining my personal bank accounts to make interest payments to my client per the private placement memorandum that I had, and thank God had in place, disclosing the risks and everything that was going on from what I knew with this. And during that time, I get a phone call. And that phone call on the other line is an FBI agent. And he says, "We understand you have investment dealings with Investor Guy. We need to talk." Sweating bullets, if you can imagine being called into the FBI's office to be interviewed, asking about all of this that they'd been watching for like the last year and a half. And next thing you know, I'm signing a deal with the feds, and I have a wire taped to my chest to go meet with Investor Guy.
Jeez.
But it's too late. All the money was completely gone. That 4.8 million, that was my cash.
Wow.
My family's life savings completely gone. And over $10 million of my client's cash completely gone. Wow. Gone. Like nothing there. I can't keep the company together. There were myself, 5 other advisors here in Southern Utah. There's 16 employees. We had three floors and three separate offices on three different floors in this office building. We shut everything down, and I'm a complete mess, like mentally, physically, emotionally, and I turned to alcohol to just numb myself out. And I'm a complete asshole to everyone around me, including my wife and kids. Like 2008, 2009, 2010, like I was just doing everything I possibly could to stay alive. And the culmination of all of that was the second week of October of 2010 when there's a knock on our front door. Early in the morning, I opened the door and it's my wife's family, my father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, another brother-in-law, as I see two U-Haul trucks back up into the driveway of our home. And they say, "We're here for Wendy and the kids." And in that moment, I knew I wasn't healthy to be around. So I didn't blame them. I didn't blame my wife and stuff wanting to get away from me. But that was like the culmination of everything in that moment. And 12 hours later, I find myself alone in this home. It's like echoey with so much furniture gone. And I'm screaming to God. I'm like, "Why, God? Why? Why am I experiencing this?" I'm a man of faith, but like I was distraught and I was hysterical. So the option in that moment for me was to load a bullet into the chamber of a Ruger P89 pistol. And I'm alone. I'm alone in this home. I'm on the bathroom floor, tile floor, and I drop to my knees. I've got my finger on the trigger, John, and I've got that gun pressed up against the roof of my mouth. I can still taste the metal of that pistol. And in that moment, thank God, I felt a rush come over my body that I'd never felt before. I carefully sit the gun down, and I promised to God and myself that I would extract the lessons that led to that point of putting that gun in my mouth over money, apply those lessons in my life, and share them with as many people as I possibly can. So when you heard me speak in Colorado, that was me sharing that message to a group of advisors.
Yeah.
Being on this podcast with you, John, thank you for allowing me to be on this podcast and share this message. This is part of my life mission. I'm happy to report that 45 days later, after that moment on the bathroom floor, I sobered up, and 45 days later, I moved back in with my wife and kids.
It's amazing.
And I started out by sharing about our kids and our grandkids. And I'll tell you, our granddaughter, Juliana, little Jujubee, in 30 days, she's going to be 1 year old.
Wow.
I was able to be right outside the hospital room door. The nurses were extremely nice. They set up a chair there. The door was propped open. My wife was in there with our daughter, my son-in-law. And I got to hear our granddaughter cry for the first time as she was born. And to think that I wouldn't be here to experience that and countless other experiences that I've had as a result of having that rush come over my body. And I did. I moved back in with my wife and kids. I went to work. I started reading books again. I reached out to Kim Butler. I reached out to Garrett Gunderson. I reached out to Trent Fortner, mentors that
Trent's
are in
my
your
mentor
life.
too. Yeah, he's been my
Yeah,
mentor for 12 years.
yeah. I met Trent in 2001 at a LEAP conference. That's where so much of this started, is
Yeah.
back in the LEAP days, Lifetime Economic Acceleration Process with Bob Castellone.
Yeah.
I know it's still a thing today, but it's not like it was 25 years ago when LEAP would fill a room of 500 people. So I went to work. I started reading books. I talked to mentors. I remember writing a check to Kim Butler for $3,000 to mentor me.
Mm-hmm.
She's a strategic coach besides the truth concepts with Todd and just her own practice. And mindset. And from 2011 to 2018, I earned back all the money that I had lost applying the principles that I extracted. And that's what I share with my clients today is this set of principles that I call AIS. Happy to go into it in more detail. I shared that in Colorado, but AIS is number one asset, number one investment, number one strategy, and why my business today is called Vault AIS because of what I learned, applied in my life, and share with clients now on a daily basis.
Hey everyone, it's John. I just wanted to thank you for being here, and I would ask that you please subscribe to the show by just clicking the subscribe button right here. I'd really appreciate it. It helps grow the show so we can get even more successful guests on the program to help you. If you're already subscribed, a huge thank you. When you subscribe, you're going to get access to the program before anybody else does. So if you would, just click subscribe right here. Thanks so much. And welcome back to the Wealth Eazy Show. Thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, I can tell even 2 years later, and I know it's not the second time. I'm sure you share this story all the time, and I can tell that it's very touching to you. And I mean, it's deep, what happened to you. But I'm not a religious person. I'm a very spiritual person. That rush that you felt being religious, you might say it's God. I would say it's your spiritual guides. Whatever it is, it was the greater universe saying, we're not done with you yet.
100% agree with that. Yep.
We have much more work to do with you, and we're going to use this as a lesson to teach other people that no matter how bad shit gets, pain is temporary.
And if we choose that.
Yes, you're right. Yes, that's.
If we choose that story, we can't change what happened, but we can change our story around what happened.
Yes. And, I had my lat say this, that whatever we go through, the pain is temporary, and the person that we are when we come out the other side is never the same person when we started. We're always a better person. And, thank you for going through that, so that you can share your story with advisors like myself and your clients and the world. There is so much to be learned from your story. You wrote a book called What We're Worth. And in that book, you have a protagonist, David Shawcross, and he pushes all his chips into the middle of the table and he loses everything. How much of that character's journey mirrors your own experience?
100%. That's why I wrote the book, and I wrote it in that business fable format to tell this story. It's a fictional story, but it's actually mirrors the story of my own life. And I share this with clients, and I shared this at that study group, John, that you were at. We get bored. We can get bored in life if we're not continuing to grow and expand in all areas of our life. We can get bored. And I got bored in my business. Had millions of dollars making me 5% a month passive income. What I was at the time defining as passive income versus what I define it at today. And I loved hearing you and Brock talk about there's nothing really passive, right? You got to continue to work. And so, but I got bored. And because I got bored, I started taking my eye off of my core business. And as a result, I wasn't seeing all the red flags that I could have seen had I been, focused on that at a really high level.
Yeah. You created this concept of the human life value balance sheet. And how do you give, what would you say to my listeners, a brief introduction into that concept?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So that's AIS. The A is number one asset. We're all very familiar, especially in the financial services industry, with a property value balance sheet. Yeah. We have assets, we have liabilities. Assets minus liabilities equal the equity in our property value balance sheet. If you have $1 million home, you have a $500,000 mortgage, you have $500,000 in equity in that example of a property value balance sheet. John, we deal with money every day in our own life and with clients and help them with perspective around that. When my property value balance sheet, when I lost that 4.8 million, it didn't just go to zero, it was actually negative. And I was facing bankruptcy, but had I filed bankruptcy, I wouldn't have been able to carry forward a net operating loss on my taxes. So I changed my story in my mind that I'm going to produce my way out of it. That's the extract the lessons, apply them, share them with others. When we all have this adjoining balance sheet, so we have the property value balance sheet, but we also have this other balance sheet that you just mentioned, that's a human life value balance sheet. And it has assets and it has liabilities on it. Some of those assets on our human life value balance sheet would be our knowledge, our experiences in life, our morals, our values, relationships. Trent is a mentor, other mentors in our life, father figures, Ed Milet, different people, Tony Robbins, mentors. Relationships is a relationship with someone is a line item on the human life value balance sheet. Mm-hmm. Now, there can also be some liabilities on the human life value balance sheet. Human life value is who we are as a person. It's our mental capital. It's our character. It's who we are. Knowledge, experience, expertise. Some of those liabilities could be limiting mindsets, fears, doubts, worries, things that take away versus add to in our life. So because I had put my self-worth in my property value balance sheet, and when that went to zero, actually negative, I felt worthless. Versus now I look at my human life value balance sheet and I want all my clients, I want all of your clients, John, I want you to look at your human life value balance sheet, look at the assets, look at the liabilities, because human life value is the source and the creator of all property value.
I agree with that.
We all want to increase our property value, investments, our career, our business, our real estate holdings, all these things. We want to increase our property value. But in order to do that and have it be something that sustains long-term versus short-term, we must first increase our human life value, our knowledge, our experience, our expertise, our purpose, our passion.
That's pretty deep. No one ever considers it, because most people look at a balance sheet as just a bunch of numbers of economic, more of a monetary value and not of a social value.
For sure. Yeah. So I look at both. I look at both balance sheets now, but I first look at my human life value balance sheet because it is the source and creator of all property value. But it's those intrinsic self-worth items of life that allow us to have that deep sense of fulfillment in our life, no matter what that human life or no matter what that property value balance sheet is doing in our life. Because so many people that are heavily invested in the stock market and they have no knowledge, no experience, no expertise in that area, and the stock market dips 30%, well, it's not just their money, it's their mood. It's their quality of life dips also. They're devastated, they're distraught.
So how do you get people to focus and shifting that value from looking at a bank account to valuing their true assets?
Yeah, their human life value assets. Number one, just introducing this concept and making them aware, maybe for the first time, that they do have this adjoining balance sheet and the significance and the importance of it. So awareness is number one, just becoming aware of it. And then over time, they're working on their human life value assets. They're identifying their liabilities on their human life value balance sheet. And when Garrett Gunderson and I wrote What Would the Rockefellers Do in this newest version, I talk about both balance sheets, and that's the basis of the estate planning. It's not just the property value, but it's the more important human life value assets and having both together in an estate plan so money becomes a blessing, not a curse in the family's life moving forward.
Your AIS triangle focuses on you being the number one asset, not your business, not your investments. And this really aligns with what I've always been saying. And I always say, you are your number one asset. People say, John, if I got $10,000, where should I invest it? I go, in yourself. You want to turn 10 into 100? Invest it in yourself because you are your number one asset. So how can you explain why most people get this all backwards? Would you blame the financial institutions for this?
So I struggle with that word blame because accountability can be an asset, or the lack of accountability could be a liability on the human life value balance sheet. And I believe personally that there are very few victims in the world today. I'm a really big fan of Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged, and Les McGuire, who died in the plane, one of our partners that died in the plane crash, taught me a lot about this book, Atlas Shrugged, and it talks about being a victim. Now, I believe there are circumstances for sure where people are truly a victim, but in this situation of money and investing, um, I believe there are good investors, not good investments.
Mm.
And that comes back to the concept of investing in yourself first. And like you said, hey, if someone has 10 grand, pour that into yourself, because human life value is the source and creator of all property value. And yes, number one asset is you, the individual. People are assets, things are not. That room that you're in, that microphone, the headphone, the room that I'm in has no value whatsoever until you, myself, or another human gives it value.
That's true.
So, yeah, so people are assets, things are not,
Yeah.
but we can leverage both in our life. And so, yeah, I take people through exercises, and hopefully the book, What We're Worth, that you mentioned, assists with that also, of them having a desire, number one, an awareness, number two, a desire to start looking at that and working on that, and then gaining clarity around what they have the most purpose and passion in, and starting to move more towards that in their life. So things truly become an asset versus a liability.
Mm. You mentioned you co-authored the book, What Would the Rockefellers Do, with Garrett Gunderson. Great book. I loved it. I listened to the audiobook while I was working out, and I found myself like stopping and opening up my notes and taking notes of certain things that you guys were talking about. And it's funny because I published this book last year, Wealth
Yeah,
Without Wall Street. And I wrote a chapter in here called Be a Rockefeller, Not a Vanderbilt. And
beautiful.
it's very powerful when, talking about the Rockefeller method, and you guys wrote a whole book on this. So what's the biggest difference between how the ultra wealthy, like the Rockefellers, protect wealth versus what people are regular doing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, human life value balance sheet. They're clear about the morals and the values of their family. They may not call it the human life value balance sheet. That's what
Mm.
I call it. That's what our clients call it now. But they have this in their estate planning. There are the money isn't just given outright. It has strings attached to it. So money is a blessing, not a curse. And so they're crystal clear about their family values. They've identified them, they live by them. They don't just live it and speak it, they have it written in estate planning documents, in their trust documents that continue to perpetuate the family legacy. So it perpetuates not only the cash, but the more important intrinsic self worth items of life, those family values, those human life value balance sheet items in their life moving forward. And that's what I see as the biggest distinction. What do you see, John?
I see most people are getting their financial information from their financial advisor who works for a financial institution. And I know this for a fact because in the United States, you have Wall Street, which is the financial area. We have Bay Street. Have you ever been to Toronto?
No, I have not.
Okay, you got to come. Come in the summertime, not wintertime. It's cold, it's yucky, but come in the summertime. It's a fantastic city. It's like a miniature New York, but cleaner and less crime.
Beautiful.
But we have Bay Street, and that's where all the financial institutions are, the headquarters, and all the big brokerage firms. And I was a Bay Street advisor. I started in the business in 1999. 2001, I went on my own and I became a broker. And from then until 2016, I was giving advice to my clients based on what my employer wanted me to say. And I found when I'm sitting with a client and I look at them and I'm trying to help them build a retirement, I realized what I was really doing was I was building my own retirement because I was an asset gatherer.
Yeah.
And I found that the advice that they want us to give our clients is give us all your money, do it on an ongoing basis. We want to hold on to it for as long as possible and then give it back as little as possible. And the reason why we do this is because we collect fees, right? So we don't talk about protecting your human economic life value. I say to my clients, you've got insurance on your home in case of loss. You have a lot of people, I have jewelry riders on my watches, my jewelry. I have riders in case it gets lost. I have insurance on my car in case of loss. But what people aren't doing is they're not insuring their human economic life value. And I think that's the most important thing because the three basic necessities in life, I believe, are food, shelter, and clothing. And they are supported by income. If we cut off the income, we shut down our three basic necessities of life.
Yeah.
And no one is insuring it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit and talk to a client when I was an advisor. I'm not going to sit and talk to a client about throwing a whole bunch of money over into some whole life insurance because I'm not going to get paid on that. I want you to give it to me. So we're not doing a justice with our clients and meeting our clients' best needs. I think most advisors out there, and I was that guy, I was self-serving. I was serving my need. So I sold my book in 2016 and I focused now on whole life insurance, doing a lot more tax strategies, estate and trust planning.
Nice.
I am going back into the wealth business. I had my exam. I just passed my security exam for the second time on Monday. So I'm getting my wealth license back.
Nice.
And the reason why I'm getting my wealth license back is because two reasons. Number one, I have so many clients coming to me and asking me to manage their money. And number one, I say, I can't even give you advice. And they're showing me their statements and I'm looking, I'm like, my God, you guys are getting killed in fees. I could save you half the fees by working with you. And number two, I don't know about you, but I see with the intergenerational wealth transfers that are happening, if you're not working with the kids and doing everything, when the parents die and that wealth transfer happens, you're going to lose that client because I think that a lot of the kids, they can't be bothered. I mean, the younger generation, sorry to say, but they're fucking lazy. They are.
It's different for sure.
It's different.
Yeah.
And they don't want to deal with several people. They want to deal with one person. So if I'm not managing the wealth also, I feel that time's going to come, I'm going to lose that client. And I don't want to lose that client because we built such rapport. So you got to work with the family and manage everything. So that's what I see is misinformation, misguided from their personal advisors. And I think that people like you need to get on more of these type of shows and talk about the human economic life value because no one is doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You, Garrett's really big in that area. I'm only one person. I know there's a bunch of advisors that go to Caleb Williams' mastermind. We're talking about it, but we're just a handful of advisors. I mean, there's 350 million people in the US and there's 38 million people here in Canada.
Yeah.
There's almost 400 million people that need to understand this stuff. You know, in your book, What Would the Rockefellers Do? There's a big component on whole life insurance. And whole life insurance companies, they've been around for almost 200 years and they survived multiple depressions. How does a strategy using whole life insurance differ from the typical high risk returns that Wall Street promotes?
Yeah. I take everything back to AIS. That's the model. That's the foundation for me and for all of my clients. So A is number one asset. You are the number one asset. That's the property value, human life value, balance sheet.
Yeah.
The I is number one investment. Where to invest, where to take risk. There's two main characteristics that I would live by and share with all my clients. Number one, control, and number two, human life value. So I work with clients, business owners, mainly professionals that love what they do, and there's just not enough time in their day to do everything they want to do in their career and in their business.
Yeah.
So when I meet them, I help them with the frame of AIS, number one asset, number one investment. And again, number one investment is the area where they have control and human life value, knowledge, experience, and expertise. That's the area to take risk
In their business.
in their business, in their
Yeah.
career. Yeah, right. John, we talk to clients all the time, and business is up 20%, business is up this, and I hired this person, and I expanded over here. And where do they diversify? Within their own business?
Yeah.
Where do they hedge against inflation? Within their own business, because they have control, knowledge, experience, and expertise in that area. Purpose and passion. It's what has and will continue to put the most amount of cash in their pocket. That's the area to invest. But if they start getting bored there, they take their eye off of, just like David Shallcross did and what we're worth, just like I did. They start getting bored in their business. So they start looking for the solution outside of their control and their human life value. And that's called gambling.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm for investing, but I'm against gambling, because gambling's a zero-sum game. There's a winner and there's a loser.
Yeah.
My wife and I, Friday this week, again, we're only 2 hours from Vegas. We're going to go down to Vegas. We're going to see a show, have a nice dinner, stay the night, just a little weekend getaway, and then come back. But there's gambling, right? Las Vegas, casinos, gambling.
yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
zero-sum game.
Yeah.
So again, the platform of where to invest is in your area of expertise, where you have purpose and passion and control. That's number one investment. Number one strategy, AIS, number one strategy, if someone's going to relinquish control of cash, I want them, based off of what I'm living and my highest net worth clients are living, and the wealthy, is to keep that cash that they're going to relinquish control of guaranteed, protected, and liquid. Right? If someone's going to relinquish control of cash in an area where they don't have knowledge, experience, or expertise, and they keep it guaranteed, protected, and liquid, the number one thing that it does is it protects their mindset, their human life value, not only their enjoyment and peace of mind. You and Brock talked about presence, the ability to stay present and in the moment in life.
Yeah.
And that has to do with number one asset, also the human life value balance sheet. But if someone's stressed out about all their money, they're out of focus and they're all over the place mentally. Whole life insurance, if it's, and again, Garrett and I write about this and what would the Rockefellers do, if it's properly structured and optimally funded, that's the place with a financial institution for a client to save cash, not invest.
Right.
But
Because it's
to
not an investment.
save-
We're not saying whole life is an investment. It's not. It's a great warehouse of wealth.
That's exactly right. It's a savings vehicle because it's guaranteed, protected, and liquid.
Yes.
So it protects their courage and confidence, their mindset, but then it also has this liquidity portion where they can use it back into their business, back into their personal life for future money decisions they're going to make anyway. And we did make the distinction in this last version of what would the Rockefellers do, to pay themselves the spread if they're taking a policy loan. So for example, and I share this in the book, my wife and I bought our dream cabin 2 years ago up in the mountains, $815,000. And at the time, even with great credit score and debt to income ratio, mortgage rates here 2 years ago were 7.2% on a second home.
Oof, ouch.
But we were able to take a policy loan for 5% using our cash value as collateral with the life insurance company, guaranteed, no questions asked, completely private, didn't pay any other fees. That difference between 5% and 7.2% is 2.2% difference, but it represented a 44% savings for us because 7.2 is 44% more than 5%. So we held on to that spread by using our cash value as collateral and taking a policy loan for a money decision that we were going to make anyway.
And it's not on your, I call it your balance sheet, your credit report. So it doesn't affect your debt servicing ratios.
Yeah, it's private.
It's private, no questions
Yeah.
asked.
Yeah.
You know, when I talk about whole life insurance, I often get into, I guess, heated debates sometimes with some Primerica guys on Instagram and social media. And the one thing that they're always comparing is a mutual fund return to a whole life. I go, guys, it's not an investment. You can't, it's like comparing a car to a potato. There's no comparison. But if you really want a great place to store your wealth, and if you're looking for a great place for your fixed income money, like your bond money, fantastic place to store it, because you do get bond-like returns and they're guaranteed. And you get access to it at any time.
100%. Yeah. So we're talking about the cash value of the policy.
The cash value. Yeah.
There's also a death benefit.
Yeah.
John, I just had my 15th client pass away 3 months ago.
Oh, sorry.
2 this year, or 2 last year in 2025. 2.
Yeah.
14 and 15th. So you want this, I want this. Our clients want life insurance death benefit. They want it in their income producing years in case something happens to them, so they can transfer that risk to an insurance company. Let the insurance company manage that risk of death that frees them up to stay in their lane, in their area of expertise. Number one, investment, their career, their business, and their ability to enjoy life. So they transfer that risk to an insurance company. They manage that risk of death. So in the earlier years of someone's life, the death benefit, whether it's term or whole life, in the earlier years, that's there for income replacement.
Yeah.
But when they have whole life as part of their overall portfolio, they're going to carry forward not only cash value, but they're going to carry forward a death benefit. Yeah. And that death benefit later in life, as I know you share with your clients, becomes asset insurance for them.
And think about this, you know, for your unfortunate clients, their families. Imagine they had all their money sitting into an investment in Wall Street. Is their advisor going to knock on their door and hand them a check to replace the income and the human economic value of the person that they just lost? No. They're going to be calling up and saying, hey, listen, he passed away. Oh, let's calculate all the taxes that you're going to owe. But that family is now suffering. They're in mourning, and you come walking up and knock on the door and say, hey, listen, I'm really sorry for your loss, but here's a check for a couple $1 million. Your husband thought about his family and taking care of you guys. You know what? I'm not in that position, and you know, it's funny. I've been in the business 27 years. I've never had to deliver a check yet.
Wow.
I have not delivered a check yet. And I think I've got some elderly clients, and I think probably in the next maybe 5 years, I hope not. I really hope not, because I don't know how I'm going to be able to handle that.
It's just a matter of time being in this business, John, and you know that. I talked to my assistant, Lacey, who's been with me 14 years now. It's just a matter of time, and boom, and then it happens. And yeah, the ability to, it's one thing. I haven't experienced this like real closely. My father passed away at the age of 70 in 2014. And then Garrett and I, as original partners, almost 20 years ago in a plane crash. They flew from northern Utah to St. George. We did a seminar here. They're on their flight back in this small 4-seater plane, the pilot, Blaine, my 2 business partners, and they died on their final approach into the runway. They hit a microburst cloud over a lake, threw them 1,000 feet up and straight into the water. All 3 of their wives were pregnant at the time of the plane crash.
Gosh.
It was horrific. I mean, they're all horrific, but living through this, it's one thing for someone to deal with the loss of someone, but then to have to deal with the finances on top of that, especially if they're the main income provider. And so, yeah, the ability to come in and deliver a check in that. But again, we insure for both. We insure if something happens tomorrow or today, but we insure to live a long life also. And whole life insurance is the only product that will deliver a death benefit today, tomorrow, or 40 or 50 years into the future. And when that becomes a reality for our clients, they can leverage against that reality with their existing money decisions that gives them the ability to spend and enjoy significantly more and at the same time leave it behind. And again, that's why we like to do all this estate planning the Rockefeller way, so it's multi-generational and give us more purpose in our life to have it set up that way. But it's a wealth tool. It's a wealth tool now, tomorrow, and in the future.
That's why they call it life insurance, not death insurance.
That's right.
You can use it during your life. You know, Caleb wrote a really great book called The And Asset. And it's not to replace investments, it's to enhance what you're currently doing. And you said it perfectly. It gives you that permission to spend. Spend down your assets. Live a great life. Live in abundancy. And then have it all replaced on death to your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Haven't you had on someone about reverse mortgages on your podcast?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I give this example all the time. I'm in my home office. Our home's valued at about 2.2 million. I'm 54, as we talked about earlier. In 20 years, which is wild to think about, John.
I know.
20 years, we're going to be 74.
Jeez.
My wife and I, so our home's valued at about 2.2 million at a 3% inflation rate, only 3%. Our home will be worth double what it is today. That's 4.4 million. That's a big asset. We plan on strategically to do a reverse mortgage. Tax-free income to my wife and I while we're alive. It's going to be about 180 grand a year.
Amazing.
And then we have life insurance death benefit on our whole life policies that will come in and give our kids, our trust, the ability to pay off the reverse mortgage or not. They're under no obligation to do so. But it allows my wife and I to spend assets that we maybe wouldn't normally spend and enjoy and do so tax-free. And be able to leave it behind at the same time.
What a fantastic tool. It's amazing. You talked about gambling. What are the biggest gambling behaviors that you see people are making with their money today?
Comes back to boredom. They're bored, so they just they follow the Dave Ramsey buy term invest the difference. And they have no knowledge, experience, or expertise of putting money in the market. And they put it in there and they're just blindly doing it because that's quote unquote what you're supposed to do. So the biggest one is clients relinquishing control of money in an area where they have no experience, no expertise, and definitely no purpose or passion.
Yeah, I think, Dave Ramsey's, he's good at a lot of things. He's really good at getting you out of debt and the baby steps and, saving for investments. But I think he's really wrong on a lot of areas, especially when it comes to term life insurance and whole life insurance. I think he's using a lot of archaic policies because people can structure, you and I, we can structure a policy today. I could structure a policy that has 80% of the cash value after the first year. And you'll break even after 4 years. So after 4 years, every dollar that you put in premium comes out more than $1 after 4 years. And I'm not saying term insurance is bad. I call it if you die insurance. And whole life is when you die insurance. So, my clients, ask them, do you want if you die insurance? Or do you want when you die insurance? And they look at me like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, term is, it's set up for a term. I mean, it's not bad. It's really great if you're just starting in life. You've got a very young family and limited income. At least ensure what we talk about is your human economic life value. Term is great for that, for ensuring that replacement income of your life value. But as you get older and you start making more money, I think you should start to slowly convert that into some permanent whole life insurance, what we call the when you die insurance. And you get to
Yeah,
do the
well
things
said.
like what you said is we're going to live off of, we're going to do a reverse mortgage, and we can leverage our policies and get tax-free income from it. I think that's one of the really big, powerful characteristics of a whole life policy, besides the tax provisions and the creditor protection and all kinds of stuff. And the protection is that you get to collateralize a whole life policy and receive tax-free income on top of the things like you said you're going to do as a reverse mortgage. People get mad about all the billionaires in the US and how they pay little to no tax. Well, it's because of the tax codes, and they know how to leverage. They've got assets that they leverage, and you can't tax debt. So start to do what the wealthy are doing. Like, people, read Michael's book, What Would the Rockefellers Do? He talks about what the wealthy do and how they pay little tax and how they create so much wealth without all the risk. It's the advice out there that is not getting across, I think, to most people, because they're just trained on getting this advice from the financial institutions. And I'm not saying they're bad, but it's a lot of misinformation out there that I think they could be doing a better job on.
Yeah, well, John, you talked about this earlier. Financial institutions want our money. They want it on a regular basis. They want to hold on to it for as long as possible. They want to pay it back as slow as possible. That's their agenda.
Yep.
Dave Ramsey works for the financial institutions.
That's right.
So buy term, invest the difference meets their agenda.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. People get results from it, but it doesn't allow them to maximize their true financial potential by coordinating all of this together in a way that again, the masses, buy term, invest the difference, probably ought to stay there and stick with that. But for the clients that we work with, the business owners, the career people, and they want to maximize this and spend and enjoy more and have a tool that allows them to enhance all this and not have to gamble with their money, but truly invest, then whole life is a tool that allows them to do that and then create so much more by maintaining control versus the oh so risky relinquishing of control. So part of one of my core values from my own personal experiences that I love sharing with clients is let's bring back control to ourselves versus this oh so risky relinquishing of control. And people don't know that's available till they speak with you, they speak with me, or somebody else in our industry that has this knowledge and expertise.
Yeah. And the great thing, like we say, is at least when you have a whole life policy, again, folks, it's not an investment. It's a really fantastic place to store your wealth and build up guaranteed cash value. You're looking at guaranteed rates of return. You're looking at what I want to happen will happen, because basically death is a guaranteed event and whole life is a guaranteed contract, and you're marrying those two together. And I learned that from Trent. Take a guaranteed event, married up with a guaranteed contract. You know the outcome. Dave Ramsey talks about, oh, you can get 10 or 12% in a mutual fund. That's gambling. That is gambling. And I heard Garrett say, when you sit with an advisor and they talk about your risk tolerance, and I do this with a client when I sit down, when I was in the money game, and I'm going to be doing this again, talk about your risk tolerance for investments. In order to achieve a higher rate of return, you have to take more risk. And Garrett says, and I know you've heard this 100 times because you guys are really good friends. So what you're actually saying is, to increase my chances of winning, I have to increase my chances of losing. When you put it that way, nobody wants to lose.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I don't want that. No.
Yeah. So there's a whole other approach that clients can have in their life by leveraging this tool of properly structured, optimally funded whole life insurance in everything else that they have going on, and leverage it together. And by coordinating all of that together, it gives them so much more, and they don't have to take all this unnecessary risk that you're just talking about.
Because they're taking enough risk inside their business.
Yeah.
And most of my clients,
the area to take risk.
90% of my clients are business owners like yourself. You know, after everything that you've been through, what would you tell someone who's sitting on a pile of cash and getting pitched high risk investments right now?
The same thing you shared early on with the $10,000 example, to invest in themselves, to know versus hope that what they're doing with their money is the most efficient thing that they can. And the way that they do that is they increase their human life value first. Because if they need to meet with you, they need to meet with someone like you, myself, somebody else that will share with them this message of investing in themselves. Because again, there aren't good investments, there's good investors.
Right.
And so they have to see themselves as the number one asset, and have this desire to protect it, and have this knowledge of the human life value balance sheet. So if they're asking that question, then they need to pause and invest in themselves more, and meet with you or myself and read these books and gain this understanding. Then they'll know what to do with that. So invest in themselves first.
Garrett talks a lot about knowing your investor DNA. How do you incorporate that into your AIS?
Yeah. So that's the human life value balance sheet, investor DNA, same thing, same concept around all of that.
Yeah.
I just call it that, and he calls it the
Investor
investor
DNA.
DNA. Yep.
Okay. When you were going through one of the lowest period in your life, what role did your wife, Wendy, play in your journey from losing everything to rebuilding the wealth and your purpose?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking me that. I'm clear today that I'm where I'm at today because of my relationship with Wendy. John, I've rescheduled a full day of appointments because I've been off with Wendy. And we're a team now. We're both committed. Years ago, I had 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So our relationship was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But now I have both feet in. And as a result, the results in our life are both feet in results. So significant. I'm very aware of that. I talk with clients about it. I ask them how their relationship is with their spouse, because that's a telltale sign of all the other things that are going on in their life as a result of that. So major investment in my life, my wife's life. Just like I was saying, we're going away for the weekend for our weekend date night. We do those quarterly where we get away, whether it's a large one or a small one. We have weekly date nights, and it pays massive dividends as a result.
I think that's fantastic, and I don't think enough people are doing that. Again, my wife and I, we do a lot together, and I always say, couples who play together stay together.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
My wife, she likes smoking. I'm a big cigar aficionado. I have a cigar room. I have a cigar place in my home.
Nice.
And I'm in there. I'll smoke a couple a week, watching football. And sometimes my wife, she'll just say, hey, listen, I've got a 75-inch screen in there. She'll say, hey, why don't we watch a movie tonight? Let's go in the cigar lounge. Let's have a cigar together. I'm like, great. Like when we travel, like we're going to Miami on Monday. I'm going to go to Tom Walls. Are you going to be at Tom Walls?
I'm not. Nope.
Oh, too bad we couldn't meet up. Trent's going to be there. Trent and Brock are going to be there. And I know Garrett's going to be there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Garrett and Tom Wall on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in Hollywood. But we're going to go over to Miami. And the one thing that my wife loves to do is hit cigar lounges, because they're illegal here in Canada. You can't have a cigar lounge.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Not allowed. You can't smoke anywhere. No, not even a private club. Can't do it. I mean, there are private clubs. I belong to a private cigar club, but it's all on the hush hush. But it's funny because when I want to go to the cigar lounge here, she's like, I don't want to go. Because usually I go at nighttime. But the moment we leave Canada and we're in warm weather, like Miami, we have a property in Dominican. We spend a lot of time in Punta Cana, and we'll smoke 2-3 cigars together on the beach after dinner together. My wife wants to go, hey, let's go to the cigar lounge. Let's go to the cigar lounge. That's all she wants to do, because that's our time together. She just loves, like, we have so much fun doing things together. We go golfing together, and we'll leave to go play golf. And my wife will go, did you bring cigars? She'll remind me. So I think it's wonderful that you're doing that. I think more people should do that because, like I said, happy life or happy wife, and people who play together, they're going to stay together.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah. You got to make time for your partner. You have to. we're gonna get wrap it up, but I want to know, what books did you read in 2025 that you would highly recommend to my listeners besides What Would the Rockefellers Do?
Yeah, I really like Dan Sullivan's stuff from Strategic Coach.
Mm. Jason Lowe likes
Um,
that too.
what's that?
Jason Lowe, he
Oh
recommends that
yeah,
book too.
yeah. He's a coach client also. Yeah, I knew that about him. Yeah. Um, I reread Atlas Shrugged this last year, and specifically in that book, I like Francisco D'Anconio's famous money speech in that book where it talks about dollars follow value.
Mm.
So first seek to create value, having faith that dollars will follow that value. Tom Wall's book, Permission to Spend.
Great
That's
book.
a really good one too. I reread that, and I'm part of his study group
Okay.
that he does monthly. I really like Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art. Have you heard of his book, Stephen Pressfield?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's about, and then there's one more that I'll mention from this last year. But Stephen Pressfield talks about performers and how they have dedicated time to create. And so there's this project that we want to do, but we keep putting it off, we keep putting it off, we keep putting it off. And he talks about the precision and dedication to a specific period of time of doing something. And if we'll just do it and start engaging in it, then we'll get the result from it. That's really good. And then the last one is um, he talks about thinking time. I'll think of his name in just a moment. Oh, the book is called The Road Less Stupid.
Okay.
The Road Less Stupid. And he's a billionaire, and he talks about having specific time where we think and we ask ourselves thinking questions. So it's the principle that Stephen Covey taught of measure twice, cut once.
Mm-hmm.
And having this thinking time to ask ourselves powerful questions in our own personal life, and then do the work after that. So spend more time thinking and getting clear about things, about what we want and why we want it, and then move forward with that vision.
Amazing. Last question. If you had to go back to your younger self, what advice would you give him, knowing what you know today?
I've done a lot of personal work on my 5-year-old self the last 4 years. Medicine journey experiences in Peru, things of that nature. And I've gone back to my 5-year-old self, and I've put my arm around my 5-year-old Michael. And I've taught him that I now live today, that I'm worthy and that I'm loved. Those are the two fundamental core principles that I believe shapes so much of our life, is feeling worthy and feeling loved, and reinforcing that more, because I didn't receive that growing up as a young boy. I now have that in my life today, but that's through a lot of ups and downs as a result to get to that. But I now have that as a core belief about myself, that I am loved and that I am worthy.
Amazing. That's good. That is good. Tell my listeners how they can find you, because you've got your first book, What We're Worth. Is that for sale on Amazon?
It is. Yep. There's audio, Kindle, all of that on Amazon. Then, of course, What Would the Rockefellers Do is all over Amazon too, for Garrett and I. And my personal website is Vault AIS. Lots of blogs, videos, things on there also.
Okay.
But I would start with What We're Worth.
Yep.
And if that resonates, then you can dive deeper after that.
And social media, where can they find you on social media?
Michael Isom.
And they can watch a lot of cool videos about you on your dirt bike in the mountains of Utah, I see.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good hobby and passion. We didn't talk about that, but I think it's important for all of us to have a hobby and passions outside of work in our life, and that's definitely mine.
Yeah, I probably golf as much as you go out riding. And
Beautiful.
you're in St.
That's
George.
right. You're going to come down here to golf.
I want to come down. We got a bunch of guys that want to come down and play some golf. Do you golf at all?
I own a set of clubs. I am a hacker.
Okay.
My best friend Kurt, grew up with him. He's a scratch golfer.
Okay.
He's fun to play with, to go play around with, but just a couple of times a year. Yeah.
I know Brock was in St. George. Was it this year? I think he was in St. George. Did you guys
Yeah.
meet up? Because I've played golf with him. He's a great golfer.
Yeah. Yeah. They love him and his dad. They love golf. Yeah. I have not played with him.
So 2 years ago, when Trent had one of his masterminds, it was in November, and I came down early, and I played 2 rounds with Trent and Brock. And Brock's not a big guy. Man, does he pound that ball.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
I
an
hit a
athlete,
big ball,
for
and
sure.
he was hitting it 20, 30 yards past me and straighter. It's like, man, you hit a big ball. That's awesome.
Love it. Love it.
Michael, thank you so much for your vulnerability, for sharing your story. I think it's going to have a lot of impact on a lot of people, and I think that you've had a lot of impact on a lot of your clients. And congratulations to you and your wife Wendy, because you guys, things could have went very, very wrong for both. I mean, and we don't need to get into how wrong they could have gone, but you guys seem like, I see photos of you guys. You guys spend a lot of time together, very much in love. Seems like you're best friends, just like my wife. My wife is my best friend. We do everything together. And
100%.
yeah, I think that's amazing. So thank you so much for being on the show.
You're welcome, John. Appreciate the opportunity.
And talking about books, you can also get my book, Wealth Without Wall Street, Taking Back Control of Your Money in a Rigged Financial System. It talks about a lot of the things that Michael and I were talking about here today. And it's going to talk about sharing some of the myths and misinformation that you're just simply not going to hear through Wall Street or Bay Street. That's all for today. If you like the show, please hit the subscribe button, like and share. Take care of your wealth and your health.